The underestimated species Captain Maya Chen stepped off the transport shuttle onto the gleaming deck of Nexus Prime, the largest artificial structure in known space. The massive station orbited a binary star system, its crystalline spires stretching across hundreds of kilometers. Ships from 1,000 different worlds docked at its countless bays, their hulls reflecting the dancing light of twin suns. Maya wore a simple blue uniform bearing Earth's insignia, a small blue and green sphere that seemed almost quaint compared to the elaborate symbols adorning the other delegates. She carried no ceremonial weapons, no floating crown, no bioluminescent displays of power. Just a standard diplomatic case, and the quiet confidence that had served her well throughout her career. The Galactic Trade Council had finally agreed to consider Earth's application for membership after decades of human requests. Maya had been chosen as Earth's representative not because she was the most decorated officer, but because she had an unusual gift for seeing patterns others missed. As she walked through the station's grand promenade, alien beings of every conceivable form moved past her. The Zentari towered above the crowds on their 6 legs, their crystalline exoskeletons refracting light in rainbow patterns. Floating ethereal clouds drifted by, their gaseous forms held together by bioelectric fields. The mechanical axiom delegates clicked, and whirred as they processed the constant flow of data streaming through their optical networks. None of them paid attention to the lone human making her way toward the council chambers. Maya found her assigned quarters in the diplomatic sector, some modest suite that paled in comparison to the elaborate accommodations provided for more established species. The walls displayed a basic welcome message in Earth standard, clearly an afterthought. She set down her case and activated her personal communicator, Chen to Earth Command. I've arrived safely. The council session begins in 6 hours. Copy. That, Captain, came the familiar voice of Director Harrison. Remember, we're not asking for much. Just basic trading rights and access to the Outer Rim shipping lanes. Maya smiled slightly. Understood, Director. Oh, I suspect they have other ideas about what constitutes basic out here. She spent the next few hours reviewing her files and observing the station's activities through her window. The scale of galactic civilization was staggering. Ships the size of cities moved cargo between star systems. Energy readings that would power Earth's entire electrical grid for years were casually expended on routine station operations. When the time came, Maya made her way to the council chambers. The vast circular room could hold representatives from over 10,000 species, though today only about 200 were present. She took her assigned seat in the outermost ring, far from the central dais where the most influential members sat. The session began with the appearance of High Counselor Thane, a Zentari whose crystalline form sparkled with authority. His voice resonated through translation devices in dozens of languages, convened today to consider the application of the species calling themselves humans from the world designated Sol 3, commonly known as Earth. Thane's optical sensors focused on Maya with what she interpreted as mild curiosity. This species seeks basic membership rights despite their limited technological advancement and minimal territorial holdings. A ripple of what Maya recognized. As laughter passed through the chamber, Counselor Vex of the Axiom Collective spoke first, his mechanical voice carrying clear disdain. Hi, Counselor. With respect, why are we wasting council time on such a primitive application? These humans have barely achieved faster-than-light travel. They possess no significant resources, no advanced technology, and their military consists of chemical-powered projectile weapons. More laughter echoed through the chamber. Maya remained seated, her expression calm. Furthermore, Vex continued, their home system sits in a completely unremarkable region of space. No strategic value, no rare elements, no unique properties. They bring nothing to the council except another mouth to feed and hand to hold. High Counselor Thane nodded. Captain Chen of Earth, you may respond to these observations. Maya stood, her small human frame dwarfed by the towering aliens around her. When she spoke, her voice carried clearly, despite her lack of mechanical amplification. Honorable council members, I thank you for this opportunity. It's true that Earth may seem unremarkable by your standards. We don't have crystal cities or mechanical consciousness or the ability to exist as living gas clouds, but I would ask you to consider that sometimes the most valuable things are not the ones that shine the brightest. Counselor Zara of the Ethereal Collective spoke next, her voice like wind chimes. What could your species possibly offer that we have not already achieved? We have been traveling the stars for millions of years. We have seen empires rise and fall, witnessed the birth and death of galaxies. What wisdom could a species that has existed for mere thousands of years share? With us? Maya reached into her diplomatic case and withdrew a small device that looked deceptively simpler, a smooth metal cube about the size of her palm. She held it up for the council to see. This is a pattern analyzer my people developed. It might interest you to know that we've been using devices like this to monitor deep space for the past 3 centuries. Not because we were exploring, but because we were watching. A few council members leaned forward with mild interest. You see, about 400 years ago, our telescopes detected something unusual. Energy signatures appearing and disappearing. At the very edge of our detection range, patterns that didn't match any known natural phenomenon. Most of our scientists dismissed it as instrument error. Maya activated the device, and a holographic display appeared above it, showing complex wave patterns and energy readings. But a few of us kept watching. We noticed that these signatures appeared in regular intervals, always moving in the same general direction, always consuming stellar radiation in ways that defied conventional physics. The chamber had grown quieter. Some of the more advanced species were studying the holographic data with increased attention. We began to theorize that these were not natural phenomena at all, but rather the energy signature of something vast, something that fed on the energy of stars themselves. We called it the deep pattern, Counselor Vex interrupted. It's such a... The thing existed, our long-range sensors would have detected it eons ago. The Axiom Collective has monitoring stations throughout this galaxy. Maya nodded respectfully. With respect, Counselor, your sensors are designed to detect known phenomena. The deep pattern operates on frequencies that most advanced civilizations filter out as background noise. She manipulated the holographic display, showing a timeline spanning several centuries. We tracked it for 300 years. It moves slowly, but it moves with purpose. And according to our calculations, it entered this galaxy approximately 50 years ago. The chamber erupted in concerned murmurs. High Counselor Thane raised a hand for silence. Captain Chen, are you suggesting that there is some unknown entity operating within council space? I'm not suggesting it, High Counselor. I'm stating it as fact. The question is whether you want to know more about it or continue to dismiss Earth as irrelevant. As if summoned by her words, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Emergency lights bathed the council chambers in red as automated systems announced a priority alert. All council members report to emergency stations. Unknown energy signature detected in Sector 77 Alpha. All available ships respond immediately. Chaos that followed might have been comical under other circumstances. Advanced alien civilizations that had never faced a truly unknown threat suddenly found themselves scrambling for answers. Council members who had been dismissing humanity moments before were now shouting questions about sensor readings and response protocols. Maya remained seated as the turmoil swirled around her, quietly observing the panic with the same calm demeanor she had maintained throughout the session. High Counselor Thane approached her directly. Captain Chen, do your people know more about the signature? Maya looked up at the towering crystalline being. High Counselor, my people have been tracking this entity for longer than some of your member species have been spacefaring. We know its movement patterns, its feeding habits, and most importantly, we know it's not hostile by nature. Not hostile? Thane's optical array flashed with confusion. The energy readings suggest something capable of consuming entire star systems. Capable, yes, but intention matters more than capability. Maya stood and gathered her materials. Counselor, with your permission, I'd like to contact my ship and provide you with 4 centuries of data on what we call the deep pattern. But first, I need to know if this council is ready to listen to what Earth has learned about the galaxy we all share. The irony wasn't lost on any of them. The species they had been mocking for its primitive nature was now offering to share knowledge that their advanced civilizations had never even discovered existed. Counselor Vex stepped forward, his mechanical pride clearly wounded. "What exactly are you proposing, human?" Maya smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. "I'm proposing that you stop thinking of Earth as a backwater world seeking charity. Start considering the possibility that we've been quietly watching over this galaxy longer than you realize." The emergency alerts continued to sound as long-range sensors tracked something massive moving through deep space. Something that defied conventional understanding and challenged everything. The Galactic Council thought they knew about their own territory. In the distance, through the massive viewports of Nexus Prime, stars flickered strangely. Not going out, but changing somehow, as if their light were being processed by something that existed between dimensions. Maya activated her communicator. "Chen to Earth Command. Ready to listen now. Initiate Deep Pattern Protocol 1. It's time to show them what humanity has really been doing for the past 4 centuries. The response came immediately. "Understood, Captain." Revealing Deep Space Monitoring Network. All stations coming online. Across human space, hidden installations that had operated in secret for generations began broadcasting their accumulated data to Nexus Prime. 400 years of patient observation, careful analysis, and quiet preparation for a day that Maya had always known would come. The Galactic Council was about to learn that Earth's greatest strength had never been in weapons or technology. It had been in the uniquely human ability to watch, wait, and understand what others couldn't see. As data streams began flooding, the Council's systems with information they had never imagined existed. Maya allowed herself a small moment of satisfaction. Earth hadn't sought membership in the galactic community to gain their protection. They had joined to offer their own. The ancient threat returns to the war room aboard Nexus Prime had never seen such frantic activity. Representatives from dozens of species crowded around holographic displays showing real-time sensor data from across the galaxy. What they saw defied their understanding of physics, biology, and reality itself. Admiral Vex of the Xantari Empire stood at the central command console, his crystalline form flickering with stress patterns as he processed incoming reports.
Ships
that had gone to investigate the energy signature in Sector 77 Alpha had simply vanished. Not destroyed, vanished. Their quantum signatures had been erased from space-time itself. "Status report," Vex demanded, his voice tight with barely controlled panic. Lieutenant Commander Zik, an Axiom officer whose mechanical components whirred with processing strain, responded without looking up from his station. 17 reconnaissance. Vessels lost contact simultaneously at 14:32 station time. No distress signals, no debris, no energy discharge consistent with weapons fire. They simply ceased to exist. Captain Maya Chen sat quietly in an observer's chair, watching the alien commanders struggle with concepts that humanity had been studying. For centuries, Dr. Kira Thorne, Earth's foremost expert on deep space phenomena, stood beside her reviewing data on a handheld device. "It's accelerating," Dr. Thorne murmured to Maya. "The consumption rate is 3 times faster than our historical models predicted." Maya nodded grimly. "It's been dormant for longer than usual. When they wake up hungry, they feed more aggressively, Admiral." Vex's sensitive hearing caught their conversation. He turned to face the 2 humans, his optical array focusing on them with desperate intensity. "Captain Chen, Dr. Thorne, if your species knows something about this entity, we need that information." Now, Dr. Thorne stepped forward, her calm demeanor contrasting sharply with the panic surrounding them. She was a woman in her 50s, the graying hair and the patient manner of someone who had spent decades studying impossible things. "Admiral, what you're dealing with is what we call a devourer. We encountered our first one, approximately 500 years ago, during humanity's early expansion into our local star cluster." She activated her device, projecting a detailed holographic timeline into the center of the room. The display showed Earth's solar system as it appeared in the 16th century, then fast-forwarded through humanity's gradual expansion into space. In 2157, our colony ship New Horizon was establishing humanity's third interstellar settlement. When sensors detected what appeared to be a wandering black hole approaching the system, but the gravitational readings were all wrong. Instead of pulling matter in, it seemed to be editing it out of existence. The hologram showed a massive, indescribable form moving through space. It wasn't solid, wasn't energy, wasn't anything that fit conventional categories. It was more like a living void that consumed not just matter and energy, but the very concept of things existing. Our first instinct was to evacuate, Dr. Thorne continued. We loaded every ship we had and prepared to abandon the colony. We didn't have enough vessels to save everyone. 3 million colonists were going to die. Admiral Vex leaned forward. What did you do? We talked to it. The silence that followed was profound. Several alien commanders exchanged glances that clearly communicated their doubt about human sanity. Counselor Zara, of the Ethereal Collective, materialized beside the display. You, communicated with this entity? How is that possible? Dr. Thorne smiled slightly. That's the thing about humans, Counselor. We have a tendency to try talking to things that shouldn't be able to talk back. Dr. Sarah Martinez, our chief xenopsychologist at the time, theorized that if the entity was capable of such precise manipulation of reality, it must possess some form of consciousness. The hologram shifted to show the interior of a human research station. A woman in her 30s stood before an array of communication equipment unlike anything the Galactic Council had ever seen. Dr. Martinez developed what she called a consciousness interface. Not a radio, not a quantum transmitter, but a device that projected human thought patterns directly into space-time itself. She spent weeks trying to establish contact while the Devourer consumed everything in its path. The display showed the massive entity approaching the human colony world, reality warping around it like heat distortion. Cities, continents, even the planet's moon began to fade from existence. On the day the Devourer reached our colony, Dr. Martinez finally succeeded in making contact. What she found changed everything we thought we knew about these entities. Dr. Thorne paused, studying the faces around her. She could see skepticism, fear, and desperate hope in equal measure. The Devourer wasn't malevolent. It was lonely. Admiral? Vex's crystalline form pulsed with disbelief. Lonely? This entity is erasing entire star systems. Because it doesn't understand the difference between existing and living? Maya interjected, rising from her chair. Devourers are ancient beyond our comprehension. They predate most of the current galactic civilizations by millions of years. They remember when the universe was young and largely empty. Dr. Thorne nodded. To a devourer, most matter is just noise, static that clutters up the cosmos. They consume it the same way you might clean dust off a shelf, not realizing that some of that dust is actually alive. The hologram shifted again, showing the moment of first contact. The massive entity had paused in its consumption, and strange patterns of light began dancing between it and the human research station. Dr. Martinez spent 18 hours in continuous contact with the devourer. She showed it what life looked like from our perspective, the difference between a living world and a dead rock. The concept of consciousness, of dreams, of the stories that give meaning to existence. What happened to your colony? Counselor Zara asked softly. The devourer restored it, Dr. Thorne said simply. Everything it had consumed, it gave back. Not just the matter and energy, but the memories, the experiences, the very essence of what made those places alive. Then it left to find other places in the universe where it could exist without accidentally destroying consciousness. The war room fell silent as the implications sank in. Admiral Vex was the first to speak. If your species has successfully communicated with these entities before, can you do so again? Maya and Dr. Thorne exchanged a meaningful look. We never stopped, Maya said quietly. She activated her communicator. Agenda Earth Command. Initiate Devourer Protocol. Activate all deep space consciousness stations. The response was immediate. Copy that, Captain. Dr. Martinez is standing by at Deep Station 1. All interface operators are ready for contact. The holographic display in the war room suddenly expanded, showing a three-dimensional map of human space. Scattered throughout Earth's territory were dozens of installations that hadn't appeared on any previous scans. Hidden stations orbiting. Dead worlds, ancient structures built into asteroids, and massive arrays of consciousness and Orpheus equipment. For 500 years, Dr. Thorne explained, humanity has maintained a network of communication stations designed specifically for contact with cosmic entities. We've been the galaxy's early warning system, tracking devourers and other beings that most civilizations can't even detect. Admiral Vex stared at the display in amazement. How many of these entities have you encountered? 17 different devourers, 3 stellar shepherds, and at least a dozen entities we haven't been able to classify yet, Maya replied. Most of them were just passing through. Few needed guidance to avoid populated systems. One became so fascinated with human art that it spent 30 years learning to compose music that could be heard across multiple dimensions. Alarms began sounding again as new sensor readings flooded in. The devourer approaching their location had accelerated, moving faster than anything its size should be able to manage. Admiral Lieutenant Commander Zick reported, the entity has consumed the entire Kepler system. 7 billion inhabitants, gone. It's now heading directly for the core worlds. Admiral Vex turned to Maya with desperation clear in his crystalline features. Captain Chen, can your people stop this thing? Maya looked at him with the same calm confidence she had maintained throughout the crisis. Admiral, we don't stop. Devourers. We understand them. And right now, this one is confused and frightened because it's encountering thousands of civilizations it's never seen before. She gestured to the tactical display. Your ships, your weapons, your defensive strategies. None of them make sense to a being that existed before stars learned how to burn. It's not attacking you. It's trying to clean up what it perceives as cosmic debris. Dr. Thorne stepped forward. But it can learn. If we can establish contact, we can show it what this galaxy really is. Not empty space cluttered with random matter, but a thriving community of conscious beings. How long do we have? Admiral Vex asked. Maya checked her instruments. At current speed, approximately 14 hours before it reaches the core worlds. But if we can establish communication within the next 6 hours, we might be able to redirect it to uninhabited space. The Admiral's form flickered with stress patterns. What do you need from us? Nothing, Maya said simply. Just stand back and let us work. Humanity has been preparing for this day for 5 centuries, as if to emphasize her words. The holographic display updated to show human ships emerging from hidden locations throughout the galaxy. Not warships, but specialized vessels designed for deep space communication. Each one carried consciousness, interface, equipment, and operators, trained in the delicate art of communicating with beings that shouldn't exist. Earth to all Council forces, Dr. Thorne announced over the general communication channel. This is Dr. Kira Thorne of the Terran Deep Space Contact Division. We are initiating contact protocols with the approaching entity. All vessels are advised to maintain minimum safe distance and avoid any aggressive actions. She turned to Admiral Vex. Admiral, I need you to understand something. In the next few hours, you're going to see things that challenge everything you thought you knew about the universe. Your people might be tempted to intervene or flee. I need your word that you'll trust us. Admiral Vex looked around the war room at his fellow commanders, seeing the same mixture of hope and terror in their faces that he felt in his own optical core. Dr. Thorne, at this point, your species is our only hope. You have my word. Maya smiled. Then let's show this old wanderer what our galaxy has become. Across human space, consciousness interface stations powered up with energies that didn't register on conventional sensors. Operators who had trained their entire lives for this moment took their positions at equipment that merged human thought with cosmic forces. Somewhere in the depths of space, an ancient entity that had wandered between galaxies for millions of years felt something it hadn't experienced in eons. The gentle touch of another consciousness reaching out not in fear or aggression, but in friendship. The real test was just beginning. The power of understanding, deep in the outer reaches of human space, where the light of distant stars barely penetrated the cosmic darkness. Professor Elena Vasquez stood before the most sophisticated consciousness interface ever built. The Deep Station Alpha was humanity's crown jewel of xenopsychology, a massive structure that had taken 50 years to construct and had never been revealed to the galactic community until now. Professor Vasquez was 73 years old, with silver hair and eyes that held the depth of someone who had spent decades peering into the minds of impossible beings. She had been Dr. Martinez's student, trained in the original contact protocols, and had spent her entire career preparing for this moment. "Professor, we have confirmation," her assistant, Dr. James Park, announced from the control station. 17 consciousness nodes are synchronized. The network is ready for full-scale contact. Alina nodded, her fingers dancing across controls that looked more like a musical instrument than a communication device. "Patch me through to Captain Chen. She needs to know we're ready." Nexus Prime, Maya received the transmission with relief. The past 6 hours had been a careful dance of positioning human contact ships, while keeping the galactic fleet at a safe distance. The Devourer had continued its approach, consuming 3 more uninhabited systems as it moved toward the galaxies. Core. "Professor Vasquez, this is Captain Chen. Status report." Elena's weathered face appeared on the communication screen. "Maya, we're as ready as we'll ever be. The entity is now within range of our deep space sensors. It's magnificent and absolutely terrified." "Terrified?" Admiral Vex interrupted, his crystalline form leaning into the transmission. "How can something that powerful be afraid?" Elena smiled sadly. "Admiral, imagine you're walking through what you think is an empty field, only too suddenly. Realize you're standing in the middle of a nursery full of sleeping children. Every step you take might crush something precious, but you can't see them clearly enough to know where it's safe to move." Dr. Thorne, monitoring the readings from her station, added, "The Devourer is detecting consciousness signatures throughout this galaxy. Billions of them. More than it has ever encountered in one place. It's trying to withdraw, but it doesn't know how to do so without causing more damage." Maya turned to Admiral Vex. "Admiral, I need you to order all fleet elements to power down their weapons systems, not just standby mode completely offline. The Devourer perceives aggressive energy signatures as a threat to the conscious beings it's trying to protect." "Captain, that would leave us completely defenseless," Vex protested. "Admiral, it would leave us completely safe." The debate might have continued, but at that moment, the Devourer's influence reached the outer edge of the core systems. Every being in the galaxy watched in horror as the massive entity began to manifest in normal space-time. It was impossible to describe adequately. The Devourer existed partially in their dimension and partially in realms that had no names. It appeared as a shimmering void that contained echoes of every star it had ever consumed, every world it had ever restored, every moment of consciousness it had ever touched. It was beautiful and terrifying and absolutely, utterly alien. "Stations. This is Professor Vasquez," Elena announced over the galaxy-wide communication network. "We are initiating contact in 3.2.1. The consciousness interface activated, and suddenly Elena's awareness expanded beyond her physical form. She felt her mind touch the vast, ancient intelligence of the Devourer, and for a moment, she experienced the universe as it did. The sensation was overwhelming. She perceived space-time as a living tapestry, where every conscious thought created ripples that spread across cosmic distances. She felt the loneliness of eons spent wandering through empty voids, the joy of discovering new forms of life, and the crushing weight of accidentally destroying civilizations that were too small to notice. Who speaks? The Devourer's communication wasn't words or images, but pure concept transferred directly from mind to mind. Who reaches across the void to touch the deep silence? "I am Elena Vasquez," she replied, her consciousness wrapped in the protective protocols Dr. Martinez had developed. "Centuries ago, I speak for humanity, and for all the conscious beings who share this galaxy with you. Humanity." The concept carried recognition, warmth, and something that might have been affection. The small ones who sing in the darkness, The ones who taught us to see the difference between emptiness and solitude. Alina felt tears streaming down her face as she experienced the Devourer's memories of that first contact. She saw Dr. Martinez as the ancient entity remembered her, a tiny flame of consciousness reaching out across impossible distances, offering not worship or fear, but simple understanding. "We've been waiting for you," Alina said, "watching for your return." The Devourer's attention shifted, and suddenly Alina could perceive the galaxy as it did. Instead of empty space, punctuated by matter, she saw a vast web of consciousness. Billions of individual minds connected by trade, communication, and shared experience. The galactic community wasn't just a political entity. It was a living neural network spanning thousands of light-years. So many, the Devourer marveled. "When last we wandered here, there were only a few small songs. Now there is a symphony." Alina agreed, "and they're all afraid of you, as they should be." The response carried deep sadness. "We have consumed much in our confusion. We tried to withdraw when we sensed the abundance of consciousness, but movement itself causes disruption." Alina felt the entity's dilemma. The Devourer was trapped by its own size and power. Every attempt to leave the galaxy's boundaries risked destroying more inhabited systems. It was like trying to perform surgery with tools the size of planets. "We can help," Alina offered. "We've learned much since our first contact. We know how to create safe pathways for beings like you." On Nexus Prime, Maya watched the readings with growing amazement. The consciousness interface was working perfectly. But more than that, it was revealing the true scope of humanity's long-term planning. Admiral Dr. Thorne called out, "Look at these readings. The Devourer isn't just communicating with Professor Vasquez. It's connecting with the entire human deep space network." Admiral Vex studied the displays, his optical array flickering with disbelief. "Captain Chen, how extensive is your consciousness network?" Maya smiled. "Admiral, how do you think we've been tracking cosmic entities for 5 centuries? We didn't just build communication stations. We built a galaxy-spanning network of consciousness interfaces. Every human colony, every research outpost, every long-range explorer has been part of the system." The implications were staggering. Humanity had been quietly establishing a communication network that spanned the entire galaxy, designed specifically for contact with beings too large or too strange for conventional diplomacy. "We've been protecting this galaxy for longer than most of your civilizations have existed," Maya continued. "Not with weapons or fleets, but with understanding. Every cosmic entity that has passed through this region has encountered human consciousness interfaces. We've been the galaxy's translators, mediators, and guides." Admiral Vex's crystalline form began to pulse with what Alina recognized as awe. "Your entire species has been—" "What? Cosmic diplomats?" "Not diplomats," Dr. Thorne corrected. "Friends. We've been making friends with the universe itself." Back at Deep Station Alpha, Alina felt the Devourer's consciousness expanding to encompass the human network. Suddenly, the ancient entity was experiencing the galaxy through millions of human perspectives simultaneously. It felt the wonder of a child seeing their first alien sunset, the satisfaction of a trader completing a successful negotiation, the quiet pride of a scientist making a breakthrough that would benefit all species. "This is what you have built." The Devourer marveled. "Not just communication, but empathy. You have taught an entire galaxy to see through each other's eyes." "We learned from you," Alina replied. "That first contact, 500 years ago, showed us that consciousness is the most powerful force in the universe. We decided to make it our strength. And now you offer to help us leave safely." "We offer to help you choose whether to leave at all," Alina corrected. "The galaxy is vast enough for all of us. If you wish to stay, we can find places where you can exist without risking harm to others. If you wish to continue your journey, we can guide you to safe passages." The Devourer's response was a wave of gratitude, so profound that every human consciousness interface operator in the galaxy felt it simultaneously. Thousands of worlds. People stopped what they were doing and looked up at the stars with sudden understanding. "We choose to stay," the Devourer decided. "We have wandered too long in empty spaces. Here we hear the songs of consciousness. Here, We are not alone. Alina felt the ancient entity's presence settle into the galaxy like a vast guardian taking up a protective stance. The Devourer began to withdraw from the populated systems, but instead of leaving entirely, it positioned itself in the dark spaces between spiral arms, where it could exist without threatening inhabited worlds. There's something else, Alina said softly. You're not the only one of your kind. You've been in contact with others over the centuries. If you wish, we can arrange introductions. The wave of joy that followed was so intense that it triggered aurora displays on dozens of worlds. The Devourer had discovered something it had never dared hope for others like itself, no longer condemned to eternal solitude. As the immediate crisis passed, and the Devourer settled into its new home in the galaxy's outer reaches, the true scope of humanity's achievement became clear to the assembled galactic leaders. Captain Chen, Admiral Vex said slowly, his crystalline form still processing what he had witnessed, your species didn't just solve this crisis. You've been preventing crises like this for centuries. Maya nodded. Every cosmic entity that has passed through this galaxy has encountered our network. Most of them just needed guidance to avoid populated areas. A few needed more extensive help understanding the difference between living worlds and empty space. Some, like the stellar shepherds, became friends and allies. Dr. Thorne activated her display again, showing a timeline of human contact events spanning 5 centuries. We've documented 47 separate encounters with cosmic-scale entities. 38 were successfully redirected to safe areas. 6 became long-term partners in various research projects. 3 actually chose to settle in our galaxy permanently. 3 others are still here, Counselor Zara asked, her ethereal form shimmering with amazement. The Dreaming Nebula in Sector 12 is actually a consciousness that feeds on stellar radiation, Dr. Thorne explained. It's been composing symphonies and gravitational waves for the past 200 years. The pattern weavers in the Andromeda approach have been helping us map quantum consciousness fields across local galaxy groups. And the entity you call the Great Dark? The Great Dark is a living being? Admiral Vex interrupted. Maya smiled. The Great Dark is a cosmic philosopher. It's been studying the development of civilization in this galaxy for over 1 million years. We've been in regular contact with it since 2387. The revelation sent shock waves through the assembled council members. The Great Dark was a region of space that had puzzled galactic scientists for millennium area, where conventional physics seemed to operate differently, where ships reported unusual time dilation effects and strange dreams among crew members. It turns out, Dr. Thorne continued, that the Great Dark was trying to communicate with passing ships by influencing their dream states. Once we developed proper consciousness interfaces, we discovered it was actually trying to share philosophical insights about the nature of existence across cosmic timescales. Elena's voice came through the communication link from Deep Station Alpha. The network is more than just a communication system. It's a translation layer between different scales of consciousness. We help entities that think in geological time understand beings that live for mere decades. We help civilizations that exist as pure thought relate to species that are primarily physical. Admiral Vex turned to Maya with something approaching reverence. Captain Chen, your species has been operating as, what would you call it? Cosmic social workers. Maya laughed, the first truly relaxed sound she had made since arriving at Nexus Prime. Admiral, humans have always been good at making friends. We just scaled up. Dr. Park's voice came through Elena's communication link. Professor, we're getting response pings from the other entities in the network.
They're all expressing curiosity about the new arrival.
Elena smiled. Patch them through to the Devourer. It's time for some introductions. Over the next few hours, the Galactic Council witnessed something unprecedented. Through humanity's consciousness network, they observed cosmic entities that had been myths or mysteries revealing themselves as living, thinking beings. The stellar shepherds emerged from their hiding places in stellar nurseries. Ancient A's that had been dormant for eons activated to join the conversation. Beings that existed as pure mathematics began solving the universe's greatest equations in collaboration with entities made of living time. How long have you been planning this? Admiral Vex asked Maya during a brief break in the revelations. Planning might be the wrong word, Maya replied thoughtfully. We've been adapting. Each contact taught us something new about how consciousness works on a cosmic scale. Each relationship showed us new possibilities for cooperation and understanding. She gestured toward the ongoing communications between the various cosmic entities. Humans aren't special because we're more advanced or more powerful than other species. We're special because we're curious about everything, and we assume that anything capable of thought is worth talking to. Dr. Thorne joined them, her expression showing both exhaustion and exhilaration. The Devourer is sharing its memories of other galaxies with the Dreaming Nebula. They're collaborating on something they're calling a consciousness map of local galactic clusters. What does that mean for the rest of us? Counselor Zara asked. Elena's voice came through the communication system again. It means the galaxy just became part of a much larger community. The entities we've been in contact with have been sharing information about consciousness development across cosmic distances. What we're looking at is the possibility of communication with intelligent life in other galaxies. The implications were staggering. The Galactic Council had been thinking in terms of their own small corner of space. But humanity had been quietly building connections to a universe-spanning network of consciousness. There's more, Maya said quietly. The reason we joined the Galactic Council wasn't just about trade rights or protection. We've been monitoring increased activity among cosmic entities throughout this region of space. Something has been drawing them here. Admiral Vex's optical array focused on her intently. What kind of something? We're not sure yet, Dr. Thorne admitted. But the entities are calling it the Convergence. A gathering of consciousness on a scale that hasn't happened since the early universe. They believe this galaxy is becoming a focal point for something unprecedented. Alina's transmission continued. The cosmic entities are saying that conscious life in this galaxy has reached a critical threshold. The density of interacting civilizations, the complexity of interspecies relationships, the development of technologies that bridge different types of consciousness, it's all combined to create something new. What kind of something new? Admiral Vex asked, though his voice suggested he might not want to know the answer. Maya looked around the room at the assembled representatives of dozens of species, all working together to understand and adapt. Two revelations that challenge their fundamental assumptions about reality. We think, she said slowly, that this galaxy is evolving into a single, vast, conscious entity. It's not replacing the individual species that compose it, but incorporating them into something larger. A galactic mind made up of billions of individual consciousnesses working in harmony. The silence that followed was profound. Each species representative was considering what this might mean for their own civilization, their own identity, their own future. Finally, Admiral Vex spoke, and humanity's role in this process? Elena's voice carried a note of wonder. We think we're the translators. The bridge between individual consciousness and cosmic consciousness. Our network doesn't just allow communication between species, it's teaching the galaxy how to think. As a unified entity while preserving the individuality of its components, Maya added, the cosmic entities have been guiding this process, but they needed someone to work on the local level, someone who could understand both individual consciousness and collective consciousness simultaneously. So when Earth requested membership in the Galactic Council, Admiral Vex began. We weren't asking to join your civilization, Maya finished. We were inviting you to join ours. Civilization that spans multiple galaxies and includes forms of consciousness you're only beginning to imagine. Dr. Thorne activated one final display showing the complete scope of humanity's consciousness network. It wasn't limited to their own galaxy thread-like connections stretched out toward neighboring galactic clusters. Connecting to similar networks operated by other species who had achieved cosmic-scale consciousness. Welcome, Maya said to the assembled council, to the real galactic community, as if in response to her words. The Devourer's voice echoed through every consciousness interface in the galaxy, carrying a message of welcome and invitation. The ancient entity's loneliness was ended, and in its joy, it shared something it had never been able to give before, a vision of what consciousness could become when it grew beyond the boundaries of individual worlds, individual species, individual galaxies. For the first time in their history, every sentient being in the galaxy felt connected to something vast and wonderful and full of infinite possibility. The age of cosmic consciousness had begun, and humanity had been its quiet architects all along. In the days that followed, as the Galactic Councils struggled to adapt to their new understanding of reality, Maya often stood at the observation decks of Nexus Prime and watched the stars. But now she wasn't looking at distant suns. She was watching the thoughts of a galaxy learning to think as one. Earth had never been the most powerful species in the galaxy. They had simply been the most willing to listen, to understand, and to help others do the same. It's kind of in a universe where consciousness was the fundamental force that shaped reality itself. That willingness had made all the difference.